Now, our weakest link in any security system are people. Rules are meant to be broken, as General MacArthur said, to continue forward with it, and are too often for the lazy to hide behind. We would see a sign telling us, please stay on the path. We will never do that. Don't tread on the grass. We will go for it. It's a shorter path. Don't feed the ducks. We feed the ducks. We need to know our critical infrastructure. What are critical infrastructures? Now, the US defines 16 critical sectors for the critical infrastructure. The UK defines or identifies 13 critical sectors. Here in Kuwait, we have 9 critical sectors. We've got the energy, oil sector, military. There are many, let's say, common critical infrastructures between each government or each country. I'll be talking about a little of them. The common sectors of information technology, data centers, your disaster recovery sites, finance departments. They can be considered as financial sectors of a company, for example. GM's office is considered a critical part of your infrastructure or OHQ. Threat and risk management departments. You've got your SCADA systems, oil and gas. You've got water treatment for your wastewater management, for example. HIS systems, hospitals. These are all critical infrastructures, even within the state of Kuwait. Now, how to manage? SOC is a requirement to proactively manage your security. Using a SIM, a security information and events management system, using SOAR, using NDR, EDR. These are all requirements. You can interconnect them with your SIM solutions. You can analyze and triage through your SOC team. Now, we do have physical security. We have access points. We've got cameras. We've got access cards. Access points can be interconnected with your network, or most of the time interconnected with your network. You can access them. You can add them into your SIM solution. The same thing goes for door points. Human motion is still something new. We don't see motion detection systems that can be integrated with SIM solutions as of now. Most probably in the near future, I'm seeing I'm seeing some technical operators having motion detections against their customer-facing agents being installed. Hopefully, within the upcoming couple of years, we'll see them integrated into the network. Having SCADA YUBA, that is a huge requirement. HIS YUBA. YUBA is user and entity behavior analytics. We're having AI-driven machine learning added into the security of your systems. So what is a YUBA? It's a multi-tiered use case within your SIM. You can have one tier that acts as a baseline and another tier or a trend, and another tier that looks for the differences that are happening or coming in from the logs. You can have a lot of samples and uses for YUBA. Some of them can be process anomalies, which I'll give a sample at the very end of this presentation. Access anomalies, sensors anomalies are available, for example, for your SCADA systems or your HIS systems. So what can we do? How do we manage these things? For SCADA and HIS systems, they need to be integrated with a SIM. Some people don't find that to be an important feature. It is, unfortunately, as we will see in the following cases. You should modify your SCADA systems. Most of the SCADA systems have user accesses and controls or user audits disabled. You will have to modify it to enable that and allow it to feed into your SIM solution. HIS audits are by default allowed and on as per HIPAA compliancy. Now, how to integrate, how to correlate. All these systems will have different user accesses. They can be following their own mnemonics. They don't actually follow what the user how the user is identified on your LDAP or your Active Directory. So you'll have to find a way with your SIM solution to accommodate this requirement. Some SIM solutions have database integrations. in which you can perform complex database integrations. Others, you'll have to create a list within the SIM solution. That is up to you and your platform. You'll have to create or build specific behavioral analytics. Specific behavioral or analytic use cases along with your subject matter experts of the solutions that you're looking at. Again, SOC is a real-time operation. It's eyes on screen, but for the alarms that are coming up, this is more proactive rather than reactive. I'll have a sample case for a GM's office. An employee tries accessing the GM's floor or office. The access card is denied. The employee tries opening the door is locked, which is usual, normal. The employee forces the door opens, a form of brute force. The employee enters, vandalizes the office, does whatever he wants to do. The second day, the GM comes in, finds something, goes back over the security feeds, and okay, there's something wrong. We saw it happen. So how do you apply YUBA? The employee follows a constant trend, accessing specific terminals, accessing specific locations within the company. Once the employee tries to access the GM's office, that's a different than the trend. It will trigger an alarm if that was available. The timing in which the employee tries to access the GM's office will also trigger another alarm. The brute force of the door opening, you can have a sensor down, which is a normal alarm, which can be prone to false positives, and you can have a trend. When the sensitive areas are down, when are they down? Can they be down? So SOC will receive these two alarms. They will see, okay, I've seen the employee a base trend was triggered for the employee trying to access something else outside of his timing, trying to access something that is outside of his normal trend, and got another alarm indicating that the sensor is down. Okay, this employee is doing something. Let's follow the procedure, inform the physical security personnel. You've got case 2, water treatment. An agitated employee doesn't like what's happening to him. He goes into the system, a SCADA system, changes the sensors, changes the chlorine level of what the water should be, and changes the acceptance sensor of how the water is treated and allowed to be pumped out into the sea or lake. This could kill marine life. After weeks of investigations, it would be found out what happened, but eventually you have already killed marine life. If you apply YUBA for that, the wastewater tank sensor should be applied into a YUBA, a trend. The trend finished, it has triggered an event. The first alarm will be triggering of the change sensor. Now, I agree that this can be prone to false positives, considering that the water volume could be different at any time within the wastewater tank itself. That is possible. You've got the second alarm that would be an operating accessing a non-faulty unit. Again, this could be a normal alarm, it could be prone to false positives. You've got the employee going into maintenance mode. He's doing a maintenance on the unit itself or the RTA. That's applicable. You'll have false positives. However, if you're seeing at any time within the SOC that these two triggers came up, even with the third alarm for the unit acceptance and changing, okay, something is wrong, perform the operations required, and eventually and proactively stop killing marine life. Case 3A, hospitals. A hospital registration desk employee wants to allow a non-insured patient to access an insured patient's SOT. I changed the bulleting here within this case to numbered bullets rather than bullet points, if you can see, as it comes here to identify what is going on. With point number 3 in the previous slide, the employee adds non-insured patient, employee signs out and signs in with an elevated user's account. That is a form of impersonation. That in itself will trigger an alarm. You've got a HIPAA breach in point number 4, which is detected or employee adds a non-insured patient D's information as a dependent of patient G. That is a HIPAA breach a normal alarm will allow it and will come out. It should be triggered as a major alarm. You've got duplicate appointments. You've got duplicate appointments. How can you have duplicate appointments for the same user? Now, this as well follows the hospital's management information system and how to handle such duplicate alarms. Now, I did point out one last thing, which is for point number 8. The employee calls the user or the patient, confirming that there was a change in the appointment. This can be considered as a user awareness or social engineering that has been applied, in which user awareness can be provided by the hospital staff to their patients on how to handle such an event happening even after having been confirmed of their appointment. We've got patient files. I'm trying not to take a lot of time. Hopefully this will be the last, and one more slide, inshallah. A doctor is performing an approved statistical study on their patients. The doctor doesn't have time to perform the statistical study during working hours. So the hospital and the doctor wants to retrieve this information, work on it after working hours or through his terminal. Now, the usage of USBs has been denied by the hospital administration, by the IT. So what the user does, or the doctor does, which is also approved, is to export this information through the HIS system, the MRI as we call it, and saves it into his workstation. Later on, to be able to work at it from home, he would export this, or let's say he would compress these files into 10 megabyte files, for example. Send those 10 megabyte files through email to his let's say, to his actual email or to another personal email. Now, people would say that it's a HIPAA breach to export patients' files. The doctor has been approved to perform this study. It is not a HIPAA breach. The HIPAA breach is to actually export these data outside of the entity, outside of the hospital. So with exporting the medical record file or the MRI, you've got the normal alarm or a YUBA alarm. Why would you have a normal alarm? Which is prone to false positives in this case. It's because of the nature of the action. I am allowing the exportation. Do I have a pre-approved email stating that this user is allowed to perform this operation or not? Okay. This is dependent on the hospital information management. A YUBA will trigger for multiple MRI exports. This is one of the things. The user or the doctor has a approval to export or to perform the research on, let's say, hundreds of files, but exporting hundreds of files into their workstation is a breach that can be triggered through YUBA, for example, within a time frame. And that's it. I'll just give the last thing, which is a sample of a process anomaly. You've got the trend baseline checking for processes. From log sources, the trend monitor looks for any changes in these processes, and according to the histogram similarity and the unique counts, results 1, 2, and 3 should be allowed for, or should be correct for the alarm to trigger. Thank you very much, and sorry for this huge presentation.